Guest spent the past year traveling the country to chronicle the ways in which American politics are shifting. Politico's politics editor, David Siders, visited 11 cities for his road trip series. His latest piece in Politico magazine is titled, What I Saw on the Dreary Road to 2024. And David joins us now. Also with us for the conversation, MSNBC contributor, our good friend Mike Barnicle. So, David, let's talk about your year and why the road was so dreary. Tell us a little bit about what you were looking for as you undertook this year-long journey across 11 cities.
I mean, reporters go everywhere and talk to people, right? And so this was not special in getting out, but I think what we were trying to do was look at how the parties might be being reshaped at a local level. And so that meant going to county board meetings, local party meetings, that kind of thing, to get a sense of where the parties were and how the parties were shifting. And I think they were.
And so a couple of words that it looks like jumped out were anxiety, fervor. People are worried, but they're engaged. So how did that manifest itself, let's say, in a place like El Paso, Texas?
Yeah, well, first of all, at the broadest level, and you've seen this too, right? The polling is kind of staggering. Like, Americans forever have not been happy or enthusiastic or satisfied with government, I think. But we've really seen the numbers drop off to the historic lows right now for how people are feeling, not only about government, but about the parties. And what's surprising to me is that people aren't shutting down. Like, we've had these very high turnout elections in 2020 and 2022. And so, yeah, people are upset and they're angry and they're fearful. And I think they have this sense of loss, and yet they're deeply engaged. And so the way it plays out in a place like El Paso is, you know, the immigration debate, right? And I think people are anxious about, you know, on both Republicans and Democrats, about how that debate is playing out. And you see that rising up in a place like El Paso, which is right on the border, in surprising ways to me. So talking to Democrats who are worried about, yep, that's it.
No, I was just going to say, in your account of your trip to El Paso, you quote one reverend as saying, it's almost like some of the people coming to his church want a dictator. They want somebody who can crack down and form the country that they aspire to be. What did you take out of that conversation, the growing appeal of Donald Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very scary to this reverend. He's an immigrant himself. He came over from Cuba, I think when he was 9 or 10 or something like that. So he's lived this experience, and he's said mass at detention centers. He's worked closely with immigrants, and yet deeply afraid at what he feels is this. You know, he's not so he definitely sees what Donald Trump is saying that makes headlines, and so it disturbs him when he says something like, you know, poisoning the blood, or talks about a dictatorship. But what disturbs him more is the polling that shows Trump in a very good position. And so what does he take from that? He sees a public around him, including some recent immigrants in El Paso, who say, you know, we want Trump back, and that's what's disturbing him.
Mike, you and I see this too in your travels too. People are fed up with both. We see it in polling. People don't want to see Joe Biden and Donald Trump again. It may be the matchup they're going to get. It's not the one they want. Some of them willing and open to look around at somebody like Bobby Kennedy Jr. or Cornel West or other people that may be running just almost in a way to protest the choices they've been given.
Yeah, you know, and Willie, you're absolutely right. And David, in your travels around the country, which are a lot different than Willie and I traveling through airports or stopping at gas stations on I-95. I'm wondering if you saw the same sense, this volatile mix of anxiety and frustration among so many ordinary Americans, working Americans. There's anxiety about the system. We're part of the process, the electoral system. There's frustration with what they perceive to be lack of results that affect them positively and their families positively. And it seems that you hear from the Democratic Party that they think they have an ace in the hole in running against the Republicans this fall in Roe v. Wade. But in conversations I've had, and I know Willie has had the same conversations, the issue of immigration seems to trump Roe v. Wade talk. I'm wondering what you hear out there.
It's interesting. I think I think I agree with your broader assessment that people are deeply anxious, holy smokes, right, about everything, the economy, immigration, you name it. And in some ways divorced, I think, from what the metrics might show us. I'd be a little bit hesitant on the salience of immigration. I think it does tend to ebb and flow in some ways, right? Even in a place like El Paso, especially, which lives with that and has for decades. They've seen surges come and go through Republican and Democratic administrations. I do think that doesn't typically rise to one of the highest salience issues in an election. And so I'd be a little bit skeptical of that. On the other hand, we have seen some of those numbers grow, as you point out. And so that is a concern for Democrats.
David, Al Sharpton, I looked at your stop in Columbia, South Carolina, and you saying that black voters kind of drifting away. And I've spent a lot of time in South Carolina, and I cannot argue against your conclusion. But what, from your vantage point, is the basis of the drift? Is it that people are just exhausted, tired, and just don't want to debate it anymore, or they're conceding to the other side? I mean, what was the reasoning behind, if you could assess it, that you heard from people that are sort of drifting away?
First, I don't want to overstate it. I mean, the numbers among Black Americans, as you know, are still very much with the president. Right. But there is some drift. And I think one reason surprised me, and that was the foreign entanglements. I think talking to people, I was surprised to hear so much of a bringing together of my frustrations and concerns here in Columbia, or elsewhere in South Carolina, and seeing involvement in Ukraine, involvement in abroad. And that surprised me, that of all the ways that you could see inequities in the system that were frustrating to you, that the foreign entanglements would be among the higher ones. So I do think it's a sense of, we have been reliable voting partners with the Democratic Party for years, and what do we have to show for it? And there is still a lot of, fallout from COVID still. There's still some feeling, I think, that the economy is not where it should be. And that's, I think, at least the people I spoke with, the basis of their frustration.
And in just a matter of weeks now, we get some votes to see how this all factors in. Politico's politics editor David Siders, a fascinating look at your travels this year in 2023. Thanks for sharing them with us. We appreciate it.